$90 billion was wiped off the Australian share market yesterday in a single day of carnage. It comes, of course, amid rising concerns about the conflict in Iran and the Middle East. The global economy is shaking. Here in Brisbane, we're already seeing the local fallout. As you just heard from Mark and G-Bung, $2.29 a litre for petrol. I wrote stuff about my comment this morning at 8 a.m. and it's gone up that much in that time. It feels like opportunist timing for me. But what is the actual economic reality? Are we getting scammed, or is this fair price considering what's going on? Is this a short-term shock? This here to stay? And what does all of this share market carnage mean for your retirement savings? How about we put it all on our unconventional economist, Leith Van Onselen, joining me now. Leith, it was carnage yesterday, wasn't it?
Yeah, it sure was. The markets are down, was it 2.5%, thereabouts?
Yeah.
But they have rebounded a bit today, so they're sort of they're back up just over 1% so far. So, yeah, certainly 1.3%. We just had a quick look on the computer. Rebound back today, but yeah, it was definitely a nasty day, and I think we're going to sort of see this volatility going forward as long as this conflict in Iran persists.
Mate, it reminds me of COVID. In fact, at one stage yesterday, I think the market had lost about $120 billion. Correct me if I'm wrong there, but it was the worst since the beginning of COVID, and there was some sort of rebound late in the day to bring it down to only $90 billion. But that's the worst in 11 months ever since Trump had, what was that, Liberation Day, where he imposed all of his tax hikes on all the nations around the world. How long? That's right. How long will it take us to try and get this back?
Oh, look, mate. How long's a piece of string? Yeah. Depends. If obviously this this war in the Middle East becomes protracted, well, you can expect more downside because eventually the higher energy costs will feed into the global economy, and that'll obviously impact companies' profitability and performance, etc., and sentiment and that kind of thing. So if this war drags on, and obviously energy prices spike and all those sorts of things, well, you can expect a lot more downside.
What about people's retirement? What does it mean for superannuation funds?
Yeah, it's obviously not great if you've got high equity exposures and you're close to retirement. This is obviously bad news for you, but unfortunately that's just the way it is. We are what happens in Australia is determined largely by what happens offshore. So unfortunately, in a high energy cost environment, so it's not just petrol and diesel costs. It's also gas and electricity and those sorts of things. In that higher environment, it adds inflation across the entire supply chain. Also means that's cost of living. It's cost of everything, and also means that we're ultimately going to get lower global economic growth and lower profitability of companies, and then also reduce sentiment, so people can if their sentiment changes, more people will sell, etc., because I think prices will go down further. We have seen these sorts of events before. Obviously, during COVID was the last notable one, but also obviously the global financial crisis. Now, I'm not saying it's going to get that bad, but it could if this conflict in the Middle East drags on for months. Well, it could end up being one of those events. But honestly, Jason, we just don't know because this could all be over in a week, or it could still be going in 6 months' time. We just don't know.
A major concern, though, moving forward is inflation. I mean, the Reserve Bank will meet next Tuesday, so 7 more days till that happens. We don't expect an interest rate hike there because the last interest rate hike still hasn't even kicked in yet into the inflation figures. But the concern around this is that we'll definitely cop a hike in April.
Actually, it's in May. So the next meeting's next week, and then the next one after that's actually in May.
Oh, so there's not one in April. Okay, right.
No, because it's moved to six weekly. But the financial markets tip a pretty low probability of rate hike next week, and I think the RBA will sit on its hands just because of all this volatility, everything going on. They'd be crazy to hike into that. They're better off just waiting another six weeks to see.
Plus, we won't. But Leith, again, correct me if I'm wrong. We won't see the effects of the recent increase in interest rates anyway.
Yeah, well, I mean, it does take about 6 months for a rate hike or rate cut to fully wash through the economy, but it's not even that. It's more the fact that we've got these external factors now. So, and there's a lot of uncertainty, etc. And so the RBA is very likely to sit on its hands and wait 6 weeks. Okay. But that being said, obviously we do have severe inflationary pressures in this country, and we're going to face more because we're basically facing a triple-headed energy shock here because we've obviously got rising petrol and diesel prices, which is the most obvious. But also, we don't have a functioning gas reservation policy on the East Coast here. So our domestic gas price is directly linked to global markets.
Yeah.
And Qatar, which is one of the world's biggest gas exporters alongside us, has basically shut down production because it's in the Straits of Hormuz. And as a result, the global gas price is likely to surge, which means that our East Coast gas price will surge. And then that'll then filter on to higher electricity prices because gas is one of the price setters in the electricity market. So we are facing rising petrol and diesel prices, rising gas prices, and rising electricity prices if this war becomes protracted. And that's obviously bad for inflation, it's bad for our hip pockets, it's bad for the economy.
Yeah, and just around the corner is going to be the supermarkets going, hold my beer, because here we come with increased supermarket prices off the back of, I guess they'll use the excuse of transportation costs or whatever it is. I just did something about 10 minutes ago on what I think the fuel price should be, and I worked it out yesterday, and please don't correct me because I think I got it right. But I've got fuel price, the real fuel price should be about $1.86. Today, they're charging $2.29 for the same fuel. Like, it's clear we are being ripped off at the moment, and it's going to get worse, right? The ACCC, Leith, just do bugger all.
Yeah, so certainly the wholesale petrol price hasn't risen nearly as high as the retail has. So there's definitely some profiteering going on there. And we've got, according to the ACCC's Fuel Watch website, so I just had a quick look across all the capital city markets. They're all sitting at about $2.20. And that's as of yesterday, and it sounds like it's gone up even further today based on what yourself and the previous caller said. So, yeah, there certainly is some profiteering, but that being said, if these oil prices continue to rise, then it will eventually flow onto the retail petrol price anyway.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, there's every chance that if this conflict becomes protracted and the global oil price continues to rise, we could be sitting at $2.50 per litre petrol or more, within a month or so. It's really how long's a piece of string. I don't know what the future holds here because we don't know what's going to happen overseas. Don't know how long it's going to drag on for. But I certainly am wary that if this does become a protracted conflict, that it's going to have, widespread ramifications, not just in Australia through high petrol, diesel, gas and electricity prices, which then energy feeds into everything in the entire supply chain of the economy. So if energy costs go up across the board, that means you then get other costs passed on. So it's inflationary everywhere.
Yeah.
But that's going to basically happen across the globe as well.
Leith Van Onselen, the unconventional economist. You know what? I will get you on. It's all doom and gloom today. I will get you on one day and I'll get you to deliver some good news. All right? It's good for all of us when that happens.
Yeah, no problem.
I just don't know when that's going to be. That's the only thing. Leith, thanks for your time this morning, mate, on 4BC Mornings.
Cheers.